I really like taking people out on my boat. It's fantastic. But it's quite nice to come down on my own and just have a potter. And that's what today's about, pottering. Not quite sure even what I'm going to do yet. But I've got Maggie, I've got some lunch, and we're just going to take it easy. Have a day on the boat. I thought I'd bring you guys along. Somebody's getting ready to go. Sounds throaty, doesn't it? And this is Nosondart Marina in the sunshine. Absolutely beautiful. Look at this. Do you know, I might not even take the boat out. I probably will, in fairness, but it's tempting sometimes just come down and sit on it, because there's worse places to be, that's for sure. Morning. Here's Smugglers. We've got a new neighbour, which is a bit bigger than the boat that was here before, which makes life slightly a bit more challenging. It's fine, there's still plenty of room, but yeah. And there she is, looking good. Let's go and get the covers off. And there we go, about 4 or 5 minutes and the covers are off. I'm going to leave this one up, I think, for a little bit of shade, but the back half is off and everything else is now open. A couple more things to do, we'll be ready to go. That there is where the canopies live. Drop in like that. There we go. There's the engine. It's a 3.7 litre Volvo Penta D4 260 horsepower. Excellent. Right, let's drop that back down. Put the cushions back, life jacket on, and we'll be just about there. I reckon about 10 minutes to get this boat ready, maybe 15, somewhere around there. And people sometimes ask why I don't get a bigger boat. That's one of the reasons. I like having a boat that's compact and easy to get ready for sea and go and use, because otherwise you just wouldn't bother, would you? Right, let's do the last little bits and we'll fire up and go, I think. Good, well I'm about ready to go. Now we've got a fair bit of tide rain through here today. It's spring tides, which means there's a lot more water going up and down than normal, and you can actually see, if I look over here, how these bubbles are getting swept away down here. That's how fast the tide is moving. And in fact you can see a little bit of wash around the back of that boat. So it's going to be a bit of an interesting manoeuvre coming out of here. All the weight is on that stern line. The spring line is doing absolutely nothing, it's just slack, as is the bow line, and that's because the boat's being taken forward by the tide. So as I go out, I need to make sure I take the boat right over to that side, because it'll be being swept this way. Imagine being on a travelator and going across it. That's more or less the effect. So I need to get right back over there and then out and round over on that side of the marina before I get swept down this way. I'm probably going to see if I can get somebody to give me a hand with that stern line, because by the time I get that stern line off and round to the helm, the whole boat would have just shunted forward to the pontoon, which wouldn't be ideal. So I'll see if I can do that, and then we'll be good to go. Let's pop you here. And you can watch. Yes, lovely. Right, bear with, I'll put it into a stern, it'll go slack. Okay. There you go. Oh, yeah. Lovely, thank you very very much, gentlemen. We're all good. That's fabulous, thank you. Yeah, it's not so bad, is it? This is what presents itself on the other side of the marina. A beautiful river dart in fabulous sunshine. Let's get ourselves across on the other side, I think. And a great day to be on the water, that's for sure. Nice Princess going upstream. I think a Princess V39. In fact, I'm fairly sure it is. In fact, I'm absolutely certain it is. Very nice. And that one there is a Sunseeker Super Hawk 43, if I'm not very much mistaken. And weren't Sunseekers an elegant boat back in the day? That's probably around 2000, so about 25 years old, but just gorgeous. They used to make such pretty boats once upon a time. Lovely. And this one behind it, we're having a busy day on the river today. This one behind it is a Fairline, I think. Fairline Squadron, I'm going to say. Not absolutely certain of the size. It's going to be around 50 foot, 55 foot. I think about a 55 foot Fairline Squadron is my guess. Mary Fisher heading upstream in the sunshine. And then we've got the ferry that goes up to Greenway behind it. And that little chap behind that, the little yellow topped one, is a hire boat. They're brilliant. You can come down here and you can do exactly what I'm doing right now for a few quid just by hiring one of those from Dartmouth. I think that's brilliant. Look at that. Fantastic. And if you don't want to drive yourself, well, then there are tripper boats. Dart Explorer here, heading upstream. They'll take you up, I think they go up as far as Totnes when the tide is high. They won't be doing it today because it's low water fairly shortly, but they'll certainly be going up as far as Dipsum. But that's another great way to experience the river. You don't need to be rich to go boating, you really don't. I don't know what a ticket on that costs. I'm going to guess a tenner, something like that. And what a great afternoon out that is. Do that. Do that. If that's all you've got to spend on boating, go boating anyway and do that. There's no reason not to. And look at this. This river is just as glorious from that hire boat, from that tripper boat, or from that Sunseeker. It's the same place, it's the same water. Come and do it. The Dartmouth inshore lifeboat, that orange rib. That's the Royal National Lifeboat Institution. Good fellows, very reassuring to know they're about. And look at this steamship from Dartmouth Castle, Kingswear Castle, let's get it right. That's the Kingswear Castle. What a beautiful, elegant steamship that is. And this is the thing, we're boating. We've been boating now, we again. Well, I'm including you in that. You're boating with me. So we have been boating for about 5 minutes and it's already utterly brilliant. And that's what boating is. We have the passenger ferry coming across. This is the sort of stuff you need to look out for. That badger there is coming from that pontoon just behind it to this pontoon here. But I think we have plenty of room to slip round in front of him. And in fact, since he's going from the port side, he is the giveaway vessel, so he should go behind us anyway. But bearing in mind he's coming to here and he'll come in this way, he's going to go that way anyway, so we're really not interfering with each other at all. If you'll pardon the expression. Yeah, there it goes, as I thought. Come round our stern. Out the way, seagulls. They don't care, do they? They're as chilled out as me. There is a boat that I want to show you over here, which I think you will be interested to see. Passenger ferry, no sorry, the car ferry is just down there. You can see the car's coming on, so he's not going anywhere for a moment because he's loading up. The boat I want to show you, you see there's a little tiny one on the end, and then there's a slightly old-fashioned one called Not Sure. With the fenders. I mean, it is literally called Not Sure, not that I'm not sure what it's called. That one there, which is a very smart little boat, 1970s. Any guesses what make the boat that is? That is a Princess. That is an early Princess. It's a Princess 25 foot. It's one of the first Princesses that ever came out. The first one was actually a Princess 32, which I think was in the late 60s, possibly early 70s, and that one came out shortly after, Princess 25. And there is passenger ferry. Passenger ferry, I've done it again. There is the car ferry. It's loading up the cars, ready to go. Look at this scenery. I've been boating on this river now for thick end of half a century, I would say. I used to boat here with my father when I was, gosh, I don't know, 10, 11, 12. So yeah, not quite half a century, but not far off, and it just never gets old. It's just absolutely stunning every single time. So lucky to be boating here. Fantastic. That house there, that looks like it's got a chimney behind it, a big chimney, that chimney is in fact a lift shaft, so you can come off the road and come down to your house in a lift. And that actual house there is a tour of on AQUAHOLIC, because during COVID, when I couldn't get to boats, I did a few luxury house tours, waterside houses, and that was one of them. It was spectacular. Check it out. Honestly, it's lovely, lovely, lovely. Such a nice house. That is a Jeanneau NC9 heading upstream. This is turning into, what's that channel? Haulover, where he describes the boats going in and out. I could do that, couldn't I? I could just sit at the harbour entrance. It wouldn't be as spectacular, of course, because we don't have the big waves here normally, but it would be interesting. Maybe I'll do that one day. Just anchor up somewhere and chat to you about the boats going in and out. But there's plenty to see today. This one over here, little blue fellow, is the Dartmouth Castle ferry. So that goes from Dartmouth Quay down to Dartmouth Castle, which is down here. Again, take your boating. I don't know what it will cost, a few quid, and that's a lovely little trip. Takes probably about 10 minutes. And again, those guys are sat there doing exactly what I'm doing. There's no excuse not to get out in the water. Summer's here. Come on guys, let me know. Let me know what boating you're doing in the summer and whether I finally persuaded you. I'm going to show you how much tide is running. I'm going to stop the boat so it's not moving through the water. So we get the wash down to 0. Just stern for a moment. There we go. We're now stationary, and look how fast we're being swept down on this buoy. This is why I was careful coming out of the marina. That's all tide. We're not moving through the water now. There's no wash at all. I'll show you over here to prove the point. There you go, you can see how we're steady with all the bubbles and stuff. There's no wash. But it's all tide. You can see it actually sluicing around. It looks like that's going past us, going upstream. It's not. That's what the tide is doing. It's immense, isn't it? But now sideways on, that's how not moving forward or back we are. Amazing, isn't it? So we are doing 2 knots. You can see it on here, sideways, because the tide is just sweeping us down. Amazing. Right, enough of that nonsense. We've got sailboats coming in. We'll get out of their way, shall we? There we go. Let's zoom that one out a bit. There we are. Fabulous. bleep you sometimes hear, that's a neutral bleep. It's telling me I've moved the gear lever into neutral, so when you're manoeuvring you are certain that you're in neutral. I'm going to put the tender down into the race position. So what I'm going to do is untie that one. Easier with the 2 hands. There we go. Put that around there. And a quick look round to make sure we're not in anybody's way. Always best to keep yourself well abreast of other boat movements. And now we can release that one there. And that one there. And that's that one off. This will be slightly more difficult because I need to hold the tender while I do this, otherwise it will drop. So we'll release that one and we will release that one. Put that down there and then the whole tender can just drop down there. Like so, and be secured. Thusly. And this is long enough to go through here as well and secure this end to that one. There we go. Use the end up a little bit as well. Perfect. And the reason I do that is just because that's a lot more stable now, because it's against the back of the boat. It's nice and rigid. We're still covering ground sideways at 1.5 knots. The tide has dissipated a bit because it funnels as it comes through there, as you can imagine. Then as it comes out, of course, it slows down a bit. But yeah, still doing 1.5, 1.3 knots sideways. Right, where are we going? Genuinely, I have no plans. The wind is offshore, which is nice. So it's coming off the shore, and that means that pretty much wherever we go down here should be fairly sheltered. So I think a nice cove, a bit of lunch, and that is pretty much the plan for the afternoon. Now we're still in speed restricted waters here. You wouldn't believe it, but I might think we go powering out at 30 knots, but we are. The harbour limits. You might be able to just see there's a yellow buoy over there, and if we look over here, there should be one over here somewhere, just behind that yacht. Where that one there is, and a line across, is the 5 knot limit. So once we're outside of that, we can go as fast as we like. That's what's called freedom. Oh, look at this day. Isn't this fantastic? That's the harbour limits we're at now. We can pick up the pace. There's a nice little cove in here, and you can see in fact there's a couple of boats in here already. They've had the same idea, and I think this might be a good place to explore stopping. I had never stopped here for a long time, And the reason I'm saying that slightly hesitantly is because I have stopped here about probably 40 years ago, because this was a favourite haunt for my father when we were out on his boat. It was a sailing boat, so it wasn't a very fast boat, and we'd quite often just come around here, and this is where we would anchor. And I think we're going to maybe repeat a bit of history and do the same again. You might be able to see the little ripples on the water indicating the wind direction. It's coming this way, and so the closer in we get, the more sheltered it will be. Let's go and have a look. We can keep an eye on the depth and for anything nasty on the chart here. There we go. So there's a rock here, for example, we want to avoid. That's in here. Other than that, it's looking pretty good, isn't it? I mentioned my father, and this being one of his favourite anchorages, because the last boat he ever owned, which he owned for many years, was a Seaward 23, a lovely little motorboat. It was perfect for a retired gentleman just to potter around on. And there is one, exactly like his. Anchor here. That's, as I say, that's quite spooky in a way. Pretty little boat. Look at this beach here. And there's another one just over there. God, this is lovely, isn't it? Yeah, this is the place, isn't it? Look at this. Absolutely idyllic. So we are in 6 meters of water here. Do you know what? I think this is going to be the spot. Right here. Let's spin around into the wind. This is properly sheltered. 6 meters of water, that's plenty. Obviously we'll drop back a bit, but we've got the scope to do that. Let's do it. Down. Let the wind drift us back a little bit further away from that sailing boat before the anchor hits the bottom. Here we go. You'll bear in mind that where you drop the anchor is not where you will end up, because you'll drift away from it, of course. There we go. Let's see where that puts us. So we're now some distance from that sailboat, because the wind has drifted us while we were lowering the anchor, and it's still drifting us now. You can just see the back of the boat. In a moment the bow will stop drifting because the anchor will have dug in, hopefully, and the stern will swing round and we'll be lying to the anchor. So if we have a look here, you can just see there's a slight angle on that chain, and that's because the anchor is now over there. We've drifted this way, the line, or the anchor chain rather, is going that way. The back of the boat will continue to drift because there's nothing securing that. We're secured from the front, and as you can see, that's exactly what is happening. And we should end up, if my calculations are correct, just in this corner over here. Not too close to anybody else. You don't want to do that thing where, you know, there's an empty beach and you're sat there with your windbreak and somebody else turns up and pictures their windbreak right next to you. You're like, why don't you go over there? You don't want to do that. So that's why I'm trying to position myself so we're nice and close in. We're not on top of these other boats. There we go. You can see the back of the boat swinging around nicely now. Look at the angle on that chain now. You can see how it's disappearing off that way. And you can see the back of the boat swinging around. Let's go and check the depth here because we're a bit further in now. You've got to bear in mind there's another hour of water to drop. Okay, we're in 5 meters, just under 5 meters, and you can see we are there. Hang on, stop panning. And there we go. No way you can see this, but we're that guy there. So we're in the deep bit. If I zoom in a bit more, there we are. The blue bit is where it starts to get shallow, so we should be perfect here, and that's where we've ended up. Nice distance away from these guys, nice and close in, nice and sheltered. And what I'm going to do now is zoom the chart right in fact it is right in, and we can then track our drift on here and just make sure we're holding station. It always pays me when running fast to let the engine cool down for maybe 5 to 10 minutes, just because when the turbo diesel is running fast, it's running hot, And when you shut it down, of course, you're shutting down everything. You're shutting down the cooling water going around, the oil being pumped. So I always give it maybe 10 minutes of just ticking over, which is enough time to get anchored. And then we are at peace with the world. Look at this. What a spot. So this is it, I think, for the afternoon. It is 1:15. Perfect time for lunch. And I am just going to have said lunch and chill here for the afternoon. What a way to spend the day, eh? Fabulous. Well, that was a beautiful spot for lunch. But we're back to pottering because it's just so nice out here. Look how flat this water is. And just for a change, we're not going to be doing 25 knots of hair on fire. We are just going to, well, potter gently along the coast because it's just the nicest place in the world, isn't it? Look at these houses up on the headland here. That would just be spectacular, wouldn't it? Daylight today, looking out across the water, just fabulous. Just off the beach here, and yet we're in 6 meters of water, and that's at low tide. We're bang on low tide at the minute. It's a wonderful spot. Look how close they've anchored into the beach. And the same thing applies because it shells so steeply, they can get really in tight. It's lovely. This is Tor Cross that we're floating very gently past now. Doesn't that look pretty? Lovely. This is B Sands, for anybody following us on Google Maps. And that's where we're at. And this is the final corner of Start Bay. It's Start Point itself. That's Start Point Lighthouse up there. We have a little trundle down to there, and then we're going to hit the gas and head on home. You can just see the actual headland coming up on the chart here. I'll zoom out a little bit. There you go, there it is. That is that. Starting to see the depth fall away, or the seabed fall away I should say, the depth is increasing as we reach the headland. It's gone from 10 to 13 very quickly, now going up towards 40. And Dartmouth is all the way over there. It's about, I think, about 8 miles away. So we've had a good long run around the coast this afternoon. It's been lovely. The sea conditions suddenly change as we come clear of the headland. You can see it in the surface ahead of us. It's the eddies of water going around the headland, plus the fact that we're out of the shelter of the land here. Here we go, look at this. It's as though we're crossing a line, isn't it? Suddenly, our wonderful calm cruise has become this. It's not rough, it's not a problem, but it's a marked difference nonetheless. Suddenly got very choppy and very confused. Amazing, isn't it? That. That's in the space of about 50 meters. Once you get around there, it'll probably smooth out again, but it's just the way the water is sort of colliding around this headland and throwing itself up and about. It's fascinating, isn't it? Anyway, I think that's enough splashing around. Let's turn tail. Let's head back to Dartmouth. We're losing the sun a little bit, and I think it's time to get home. Over the end of the Skerries here, we're down to 7 meters in depth. The Skerries is a big bank that runs up here. 5 meters. Head us back out a bit into some deeper water. You can see on here, 9 meters here. It's fine, we're not going to run aground in 9 meters of water, but I'd rather not get into the really shallow bit. Let's get ourselves right out and around it. Back down to 16, 17 meters of water. A bit more what you'd expect to see this far out. There we go, 20 meters. There we go, we're right outside of it now. We are in 33, 32, 33, 31, thereabouts meters of water here. Quite the difference, isn't it? Still get crab pot buoys all the way out here. At least you can see them, they're well marked. That one is anyway. This is a really popular fishing spot. See these guys here, they're fishing the Skerries. I guess it's because of the shallow water, it brings the fish up to the surface, I imagine. I'm not an expert on fishing, but I do know that they often see fishing boats here. Right along the edge of it. ferries, bank, buoy. That's warning big ships of the fact that they've got shallow water to the west of it. We're in about 50 metres here. You can see the difference compared to where we were back then. We dropped down to about 8 actually going across, which is not a problem to us, but it would be to a huge ship. So that's why that is there. Go right past it. There it is. Okay, let's head to Dartmouth. Inside the harbour limits. You can just see the 5-knot marker over there. That was fabulous. What a day. What a day. Fairline Phantom 42, I think, heading out. Lovely. Calling these things 5-knot marker buoys, and I have no idea why. They are, of course, 6-knot marker buoys, as I'm sure everybody local has been shouting at the screen every time I call them 5-knot marker buoys. But yeah, there we are. Ferries crossing in the river. There we go, so these chaps just here. Marvellous. Tide has turned, so these buoys now look like they're heading downstream rather than upstream, because the water is now going that way. We have an incoming tide. There's the passenger ferry coming across. He's well clear of us, or we're well clear of him, depending on how you approach it. All is well. There's this little chap here to worry about. He's seen us, he's okay. We'll go around his stern, I think. There we go. Lovely. Barge. Steam train. Heard rather than seen, but we might see it in a minute. Well, we don't have to worry about the ferry crossing for a moment, because I don't know whether you can see, but on the slipway all the cars are stuck because the barriers are down for the steam train. So nobody's going on and nobody's going off. There's a Dart Explorer on another trip, plying her trade on the river. And there is the steam engine. Now the wind has picked up quite a bit while we've been out, so this could make the berthing slightly interesting. Maybe once we get in there, it'll be a bit sheltered by the other boats, but we'll have a look. I'm sure we can overcome. And that, my friends, I think we're going to call a world-class potter. That's been excellent. It's now late afternoon. I am going to give the boat a quick wash down, put the canopies up, switch the GPS off and head for home. But thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think, as ever, in the comments. And we'll catch you on one of these real soon. Take care. Bye-bye.